Yes, I am here, and yes, you saw that a new intro for the thing for on Mondays for October because as you're probably aware, we're now in scary season. It's the season. It's the reason for the season, as some people say. I loving my horror. I'm actually wearing my Jonesy shirt from Alien today. Loving it all, and I'm very excited. So normally on Mondays I do an AMA day, but today I'm doing things a little bit differently. What I'm doing is on Mondays this month, I'll be talking to other fellow horror fans and filmmakers, and just good people about a horror movie that they've seen that I haven't seen until this episode. And I got a lot of people submitting things. Got some real and my good friend, one of my good friends submitted a movie that we'll talk about, and we'll be talking about for most of the episode. But of course, if you haven't, done so yet, please like things and thank you for your time. Thanks for joining in. Press like, press subscribe, all that stuff. Keep the show running. If you also want to help the show, also you can do this. We're not quite at the point where you can donate money to the show traditionally. So if you want to see cool things like this kind of themes, that guy up there, that's a different logo than you would see on a Monday or a Friday, like a normal Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the days. And also if you're watching us on Facebook or Periscope or Twitter, we thank you for doing that and being able to watch it that way. And money helps to make that happen. But as I was saying before, we've been doing this month, we're doing 4 episodes of horror movies that Mark has never seen before. And the first submission I got was from a great friend of mine whom I love, who I think is really fun, who loves his horror, who is a nerd for his horror, who told me about this movie that I never thought I'd ever hear of. And you might know him online as Bangarang Eliko, the one, the only Eliko Aharon. How are you, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I'm so happy that you're here.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So for those that don't know by the title, we watched today Scare Package, which is, I say, probably the newest anthology horror film.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 7 films, which is a lot for an anthology film. I feel like normally it's about 3 to 5 window, but this is 7. And what I love about this, well, how do we describe this movie? I guess I'll just do it with the frame story. It's about a guy who works at a video store who hires a new employee, and there's a kind of creepy guy hanging around the video store. And then there's a bunch. Then there's
experience, I'm sure, for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, as a former employee of Blockbuster and as a guy that works at a movie theater, that is not a thing I've ever experienced. No. That's a thing I experience every day when I go to work, no matter where and when.
Yeah, that's the thing. It plays on a lot of the. You could tell that this movie is a love letter to anybody who has ever watched horror, or just the fact that the 80s and 90s were just such a golden age of horror, where the would just be hanging out at the video store, just there to rent anything, but just to kind of browse the aisles and just talk to the people who go there about have you seen this one, and then just go into a whole thesis about the tropes of horror films and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure you've also done that too, because I know you're a big video store nerd too. So
oh yeah, I've done that a bunch.
Yeah, I love how this movie starts off though with it just dives into the first movie, and it's so weird because the first one's called Cold Open, and it takes about 5 minutes to understand what the hell is happening.
Mm-hmm.
You see this guy fixing an arrow for a abandoned mental asylum,
mm-hmm.
and the arrow goes. He puts it the other way in a fork in the road, and it's not staying. And he's kind of bad at his job. And what the fuck are you doing? And I don't know how spoiler heavy I want to go in this episode, but I think I'll just do enough to give an idea of what the episode is.
Yeah,
what
I think
the movie is.
Go into the premise without actually I think it's more the premise of those specific stories is fine, just without telling the jokes that are in it, because it's very joke heavy. And
yeah, especially the first, second, and fourth.
Yeah, especially the one in the woods, because that one.
Oh my god. I was dying in that one. But I guess the best way to talk about Cold Open, which is the first one, it's about the characters in a horror movie you don't see.
Yeah, it's very Cabin in the Woods, where there's just people behind the scenes that are making the horror films happen. And it's just this guy, he's just one of the sort of the NPCs of the films, I guess, where he's like kind of like that movie that's coming out now with Ryan Reynolds, Free Guy, where he's just an NPC in an open world video game, but he wants to do something more, right? Like he doesn't want to be just a guy who like cuts the wires during Halloween when the killer is coming in. Oh no, we can't call the cops, the lines are dead. Like, that guy. He wants to do more. He wants to like save the people in the end, or just ends up kind of finding his way into the movie without actually doing what he was planning on. So it's like, because his whole circumstances were very suspicious.
And then after that, like the way that story ends, it like goes right into the Frame story with the video store, and then like the creepy guy is like, "Hey man, I want a job. Can I have a job?" And he's like, "No." And then like he hires this guy named Han, who's like a guy who's looking for a job. And then we get to like our first like inside the actual movie story, which I freaking loved so much. It's called One Time in the Woods, which is such a good, beautiful cliche, like gooey, gross, like parody of that kind of horror that you would see from like. It really reminded me of The Thing, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like straight up body horror and really good at that. Like it was actually scary and hilarious.
Yeah, because like you could actually feel the ick when like just such visceral gore when it comes to just the guy who's the monster just falling apart, melting into a puddle. That is like everybody's nightmare personified. And like they're trying to stop it, and he's like I need silver, like, and they just start taking their jewelry. It's like, wait a minute, that's gold. That's not gonna work. Like, how about this? Like, no, that's fake. Like, it's like, I'm sorry, the guy said it was like that it was silver. I don't know.
And then like I love like how it basically feels like Troll 2 was trying to be like the horror aspects of like the gore, especially.
Yeah.
I also love like because there's an actual killer in that story and not just this monster. And then like there's like a bumpkin that comes out of nowhere.
Shit, hit the backwood slasher.
Then like
the monster once like puddled out. He's like, oh fuck.
I wrote down like one of my favorite lines in that whole thing, which was, "I have a butterfly leg tattoo and I will never be able to enjoy it." After like the country bumpkin guy comes and he's like, "Hey, let me help you," and then like his legs get ripped off, blood's going everywhere. Like, what I love is so much
he's beating you with my own legs. No, I just signed up for a marathon.
What I love so much about Scare Package as a whole is there's blood. There's like Kill Bill levels of blood. Like I love that trope of too much blood is not too much blood in this tiny old movie. I thought that was really fun that story, how that one worked out. And it also had like a funny, cute little. It had a sweet ending to it. Like we might be monsters, but we're together.
Like, okay, this side of the goo, that's my side of the goo. That's your side of the goo. You. It's like, well, like let's just not talk anymore. It's like, fine, I can talk. I can not talk as long as I want. I can not talk all day.
Then we got to Mister, which is an acronym, which I hate saying this because I actually know like 5 people in this one because like a lot of them are like UCB people, and I was like, oh my god, I know that person, I know that person, I know that person. I didn't love where it went.
Yeah, it had a good setup. Where it's like, okay, where are they going with this? And it's like, so, but then like if you could like watch that part in the beginning where he's like flashing back to being back at home with his wife, he's like, I'm doing all the sacrificing around here, and then you find out to the end like,
maybe it's not a lie.
He's doing the sacrificing.
But yeah, like what I love about this one is it also doesn't necessarily overstay its welcome. Like it's I'd say it's like probably the second shortest one. But
short.
like it's really good for the first like 6 minutes, and like the last like 3, it's over. Like I think like the reveals of what Mr. is really funny, and then like the makeup is really cool, and then there's like 3 more minutes.
Yeah, basically it was just the setup where he's at a bar, finds it above the urinal, and he's like flashing back to like how he feels like he's being emasculated, and then it turns into like a support group for toxic masculinity werewolves.
Yep. Played by a lot of really good UCB LA people that used to be UCB NY people. What was I going to say? I love so much. I think one of my favorite parts of all the scare package is in between Mr. and what was the next one called? It was Girls Night Out of Body. Because like the Han is just putting away DVDs, and like he's like noticing like how specific like the categories are, and they're so funny. It's like evil clown, zombie, end of the world zombie, etc. Like everything, and then like he notices it's like
all the
revenge girl. Like it was like the most specific subgenre ever. It was like revenge girl, like stolen property, female empowerment type thing, and then like it literally just said like it was just a VHS of Girl Night Out Body, and it's just like, oh, okay. And that was a really funny joke that the filmmaker did there to help set up everything there.
Yeah, it's like really good, like weave through to like, it's like these really well laid out domino sets. Where it's like, okay, these two got to go back to the video store, and it's like something that's on the shelf takes it down, and it just goes into the next film.
Yeah, what this is interesting. I actually like the setup for this one a lot. But once the setup happens, I don't love the rest.
Yeah, the last one had its like cons where it was like slowed down.
Yeah.
Where it went into like SCP Foundation territory where they're like this group that's like they're examining the tropes of horror films. Like, okay, we have these specific archetypes, and we're gonna have them to like they're on the treadmill, and they have like the Devil's Lake Strangler.
But that's way later though. I'm talking about the girl with the lollipop one.
Yeah, Out of Body. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I was watching it, I was like intrigued of where it was gonna go, and it didn't really go anywhere for me. Then it was over.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting that to be like a little bit more to that, but
it's also the shortest. Like it's not bad. Like it's well done. It just doesn't. My personal opinion doesn't fit with what Scare Package wanted to be.
Yeah, I think it just fell flat versus just kind of like landing, where you're like, oh, there was a slasher following them like since the store, and then after they have that thing happen, the guy's like picking the lock, and then they just pull them in, and you just see a blood splatter on the wall. Like that was anticlimactic.
Yeah, especially because like 30 seconds before we get this really cool like the reveal of why you shouldn't have that candy that they stole. And you're like, okay. I do like, so my absolute favorite of all 7 movies is the next one, because I love myself a good slasher movie. And I'm just gonna state the full title because that's half of the joke. The Night He Came Back Again, part 4, The Final Kill. So this is the most like cliche Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers, like that, like the final girl versus the killer type movie. And it starts off
the boyfriends that were alive and the friends who look like who are cast as teenagers but clearly in their 30s.
Yeah. Like I just love so much the opening of this movie, because exactly like because they reference the title. And then, like, like I like how like sometimes they reference the title and then the movie just starts. But what I love in this one is like they reference the title, then you just see 2 people making out on the bed, and you see people in the closet, and then you see the killer come in, and then they tase the killer, and then the rest of the movie is them trying to kill the killer.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a spoiler. because the way they do it is very funny, very gory, and the consequences are absolutely chef's kiss. Like,
yep, they keep trying. They try stabbing. They Rasputin this guy and shot, stabbed, castrated, electric, poisoned, all these different things to kill him.
And like the imagery, it's like one of those ones where like the imagery is what makes it great. And I really was just really enjoying that one a lot. Like I actually would have almost enjoyed like an 80-minute version of that movie. Not that sequence, but like a person like just dealing like basically Sydney in Halloween 3. I mean in Scream 3. Or like where she's like, I'm over this. I've beaten I'm like stop this.
All the different movies that have this trope and just like, okay, person from Scream with Halloween and like just the fact that this happens so often that it blends together.
I mean, like, the reveal of like what the killer is so in the wheelhouse of Halloween without revealing much more than that. But like, it's just chef's kiss. It's just perfect. Like if you like your slasher horror movies, this is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And like then the last one happens, which I also liked a lot. It was a little bit weird because it felt more like a thriller than a horror movie to me, where the guy gets like it feels a lot like a John Carpenter movie, especially with that score they had. And it was called So Much to Do, and it was directed by Baron Vaughn, the comedian, and wrote it in by him too, which is also pretty cool. And he's also in the movie as like stingery jokes. But like it's literally this guy who gets stalked by these guys, left for dead, and then he is like a fog monster, and he inhabits this woman, and she's trying to watch a series finale of a TV show.
And it's like just fighting against so much to do, but wants to watch this episode. It's, like how crazy everything did with like I think it was either True Blood or Game of Thrones, like those films.
Like it felt very real, which is like a really cool thing about. Like I'd say out of all the movies, it felt the most real to me. Like not obviously like a fog monster, but like the idea of like the way it was shot, the way it was handled. You know.
I think I could probably see myself handling myself in that situation almost identically.
Yeah. And then and what's interesting about this is like, then it goes back to the frame story for the last 30 minutes of the movie, which I was baffled when I looked at I paused and saw I was at 71 minutes into the movie when it goes back to the frame story. I'm like, wow. They spent the whole last act of this movie as the resolution for the frame story, where you find out that Rad Chat, the owner of the video store, is basically Randy and Scream, with more knowledge. And honestly, this is where the movie kind of falls apart for me a little bit. Like, I think if this was half the length, it would have been great. But like, it was really cool seeing like the girl on the treadmill being chased by the killer, like doing tests and stuff like that. I thought that was fun, but I don't think we needed that for like 3 minutes, personally.
Yeah, like that could have been cut down just a little bit, like, and just have it more centered on the other characters who are kind of about to be tested on during the containment breach, which it's literally like a situation that you find in the SCP Foundation wiki. Like, I don't know how many people know about this, but it's kind of a community written series of horror segments, but each are written like a scientific document talking about all these like separate anomalous character. And they have in the Foundation where they have D-class personnel who are just disposable test subjects, and they have like military personnel, they have scientists, and they're just like doing all these tests on these things to see how they work. And it felt exactly like that.
Like, it felt right. Like, if I got what they were doing, it just, for me, like, this is a real issue I have with anthology movies. I tend to not love them. Like, I feel like there's too much skipping. I feel very tired after watching a whole anthology. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm happy watching them. Like, because they're good. They're good. Like, and this movie, for the most part, I thought was pretty darn good. It just, I feel like they spent so much time on that last 30 minutes with the killer, who's played by Goldust. I found that out. That's pretty cool. But I thought like it's also they used a lot of really smart humor, and it was interesting how it all laid out, and also tied into the very beginning of the movie too.
Yeah. Also, I love how they used Chase Williamson to play the stereotypical stoner who was. I'm not sure if you saw this movie, but he was David Wong in the movie John Dies at the End, which I saw at a Q&A with the director Don Coscarelli of Phantasm and Bubba Hotep and Beastmaster. Those are the movies that he did, which is based on which is like I mentioned that I was doing book readings earlier in the year, and that was actually the first book in a series for John Dies at the End. I was reading the sequel. This book is full of spiders. Seriously, dude, don't touch it.
Oh God, I didn't love the movie John Dies at the End, but I respect it a lot. So like, I also love the title of it. Like, I love the themery of John Dies at the End. So like the sequel, that's such a great title for the sequels.
And the third one is the third book is called "What the Hell Did I Just Read?" where they're naming the cryptids that they come across. Fuck roaches.
That's great.
And there's some cryptid called the Bat Mantis ! All caps. Bat Mantis. And it's just a giant flying praying mantis.
That's great. What made you decide to recommend Scare Package?
Well, some time ago, I was watching a review of this series called Found Flicks. They usually do a film endings explained for a lot of horror movies, and he really just goes into the different step by step what happens in the story and goes over the themes. And there's just some horror films that just what happens kind of goes over your head sometimes. So he usually to do ending explains, and he was reviewing Scare Package, and without spoiling any of the jokes, I checked it out and I thought, this sounds really awesome. I got to see this. And I was like, eventually when I had the chance to see when it came out, I could not stop laughing. I remember my abdomen hurting from laughing so hard at all the different segments, especially in the woods.
Yeah, the ones that got me the most were In the Woods and the slasher one. I thought those were genius ones. For those in the chat right now, I posted the link to the Foundflix review of Scare Package, which is a good review. I watched it earlier and I was like, yeah, this is great. I'll enjoy this. So don't get me wrong. If I was to rate this, I probably would do 3.5 out of 5 stars, which for me is a lot for an anthology movie. I really that's a style of movie that I really do not tend to love because I get really tired in anthology movies. Yeah,
a lot of them, they're very hit or miss. Either most of it is good, and some of them kind of fall flat. But then there's other ones where just you can't get into any of them. I'm right. The first one I ever enjoyed was VHS.
Oh, that's a good match. Yeah.
There were ones that just stood out so much that I still compare things that I've seen to that one moment. It was called The Night Out, where these frat boys are picking up chicks, and turns out one of them is a demon. And she's I don't know, there was just something about that one.
Yeah, and I know there's also things like ABC of Horror, which is a fun one. Sorry, ABCs of Death, which is
I tried that one. Oh, okay. That was hard for me to watch.
On the plus side, there's 30 movies in there. So, 26, but
yeah. So there were some moments in there that were really good, but there were some moments where I'm oh, why did you do that?
But Scare Package for me, where it hits, it really hits. I feel most of cold open is great. I love the interstitials, especially the creepy guy. I liked Mr. a lot. I loved Into One Time in the Woods. I love those both the two best ones for me are One Time in the Woods and the fourth one, the night he came back again, Part 4, The Final Kill. I do like most of Mr. Girls Night Out Body. I think is a really cool experience. It's short, which is nice, and so what you do is really fun. which I like that. I like fun horror, like fun supernatural shit like that. And I think the ending is worth the watch.
Definitely.
Yeah. Also, with these segments of this and everything, I want to make sure that we also recommend a movie for you guys on the actual service to watch it on. So you can only watch Scare Package right now on Shudder, which you can sign up for a 3-week subscription, and also there's like a month-long free thing where you can, like, if you find the code for it. I did it last night. I'm very excited because Shudder is the shit, and I've been a member before. I'm going to recommend to you guys a movie that I saw in 2018 called Terrified. Not the one with the creepy little clown. This is a paranormal horror movie where it's also like, it's sort of like an anthology movie, but it's not, because it's like seen in 3 different houses in like a block in Argentina. And then at the last third of the movie, it's like a whole bunch of crazy shit's happening at the same time. It's fucking scary and fun. And I remember I saw this at the Alma Draft House, and I was so goddamn scared in this movie that I kicked the table by accident and launched the menu from the other side of the table like 5 feet away. And it's a really fun movie. Like, it's really fun. Like, if you like your horror not in English, this is a good one. And like, that's always a fun thing to watch a horror movie not in English or your native language or a language you speak.
Yeah. Like, some people, I can find that, like, maybe the subtitles might be a little bit distracting from the action, but it's worth it.
Yeah. What about you?
Recommendation
for a movie on Shudder?
For stuff that's on Shudder, there's just so many things that either I've seen or I want to see that I can recommend. Like, there's definitely Reanimator. There's Color Out of Space, which is a really well done adaptation of an H.P. Lovecraft. Fuck that guy, but love the stuff that was written.
And those are great recommendations. So, I mean,
yeah,
Reanimator I saw there, and I haven't watched that in years. Like my horrors are so weird. Like, it's almost everything comes out new that's not like PG-13 or like known as bad. And it's like all of like the big slashers, all that stuff. And a lot of the zombie movies. Like, I really want to watch Dawn of the Dead because I haven't watched the original in like 2 years, and I really love that movie so much. My Ken Foray is the shit. I
watched the remake of Dawn of the Dead. That's Zack Snyder.
It's good. It's good.
It's good. It was good the first time around that I saw it.
Yeah.
And then after a while, like, oh, this did not hold up over time.
I mean, like yesterday, I watched Leprechaun for the first time. I'd never seen the Leprechaun movies till last night, and they're fun. I mean, it was fun.
Yeah.
I can't see
yes. When it comes to Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun, he makes it so much fun to watch. Like, even if it's the sequels, like the first one where it's just by that well where they find him in, and he's just trying to find the gold, and like, you kind of sympathize with him because he's not really that evil. Like, he's mischievous, but he'll only hurt you if you fuck with him.
I mean, there's only 4 deaths in a 90-minute movie, which is not much, and they don't really happen until like the last like 30 minutes, really.
Yeah,
it's
a lot of fun with him.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna start wrapping things up. I've got your plugs right here.
Yeah. So guys, you can follow me at Bangerangelico on Twitter and Instagram. YouTube, just Bangerangelico. On there, you will find some of the stuff that me and Mark have done with the Waystation Companions on there too.
Yeah. And Eliko is awesome. He's a great person to follow and a great person. I'm really always happy to get a chance to talk to you, Eliko. Like, when I saw you, like, we're like, hey, how about this movie? I'm like, I don't know, but I want to talk to you, Eliko. So yes. And again, I'm very happy I watched this because I really did enjoy this a lot. Like, I was laughing so much in this movie and it made me so happy. And that's like it's a good thing, like, when it comes to horror comedy, And it's not the best movie, but it's definitely worth the 107 minutes. Yeah. I'll tell you guys what's coming up on the show. On Wednesday, I got my interview with Jake Morrow from one of my sequester friends. He's awesome, and I'm really excited to talk to him. I know he wants to talk about his advocacy for differently abled people. He's an awesome dude and a great energy person, and I'm very excited to talk to him for like a half hour or so on Wednesday. On Friday, I got my Brant Steele Day, where I do my Survivor seasons through the brantsteele.org. They're fun. I do them live. Eliko, if you want to be in it, I can put you in this week if you want. I think you did it once, right?
I don't think I did.
Do you want to be in it?
Sure.
All just needs like your name.
Oh, it's Friday, right?
But you don't have to be here live. Like you can watch it back later. So
probably, yeah.
All right. And coming on Monday, we got our next episode of MarkTalk Horror Movie Day, which is going to be House by the Cemetery, which is available on Hulu. And I'm really excited about this because we got the filmmaker Ted Gagan, who made We Are Still Here, which is insanely good, and Mohawk, which is also pretty darn good. He's a friend of mine, and I'm really excited to have him on the show to talk horror. Have you seen We Are Still Here?
Not yet. It's on my list of stuff that I have that I'm trying to like go through and watch. But if you're recommending it, then fuck yeah.
And it's also short too. It's like 80 minutes. And it's just really good. I think it's on Amazon now. I know it was on Netflix for a long time, but like, and Mohawk is awesome. I haven't watched that in a while, but like, it's And you can tweet at me, follow me, all that stuff at MarkLevy85. Thank you guys for tuning in, and have a great